Anna stretched tiredly, removing her white medical coat. Today's shift had been particularly tough. Endless calls, urgent surgeries, patients who needed her attention every minute. She loved her job, but sometimes it felt like her energy was running out. While her colleagues rushed home, Anna decided to stay for a while to tidy up her workspace. Her legs ached with fatigue, and her stomach reminded her painfully that she hadn't eaten anything all day except a cup of coffee hastily gulped between shifts. As she left the hospital, she took a deep breath of the cool evening air. People were rushing about, going about their business. The city lived its own life, and amidst the endless chain of events, her own worries seemed insignificant. Anna headed towards the nearest cafe, a small, cozy place she occasionally visited to take a brief respite from her busy days. The cafe was warm, with the smell of freshly baked bread and coffee filling the air. She glanced at the display case, hoping to find something quick but filling. Her eyes fell on the last sandwich with chicken and cheese. Hunger urged her to take it right away, but she held herself back, politely asking the cashier to wrap it for takeout. With the sandwich in hand, she stepped outside, looking forward to finally having a proper dinner. However, just a few steps away, her attention was drawn to a person sitting by the roadside. It was an elderly man, dressed in worn-out clothes, with deep wrinkles on his face and eyes that spoke of exhaustion. He sat with his back against the wall, hunched over and almost invisible to the people rushing by. Anna slowed her pace. She couldn't just walk past him. There was something about him that made her stop. Perhaps it was the way he looked at people, not pleadingly, but with a silent resignation, as if he had long stopped hoping for help. She approached him. "Good evening," she said softly. The man lifted his head and looked at her with mild surprise. He clearly hadn't expected anyone to speak to him. "Good evening, miss," he replied quietly, his voice hoarse, as though he hadn't spoken in a long time. Anna looked at the sandwich in her hands, then back at the man. "You must be hungry?" The man hesitated for a moment, then nodded slightly. Without thinking twice, Anna handed him the sandwich. "Here, take it. It's not much, but maybe it'll help a little." The old man slowly raised his hand and cautiously took the sandwich, as if he couldn't believe that someone was just giving him food without asking for anything in return. "Thank you, miss. You're very kind." Anna smiled, though she felt a tightness in her chest. "What's your name?" The man hesitated, but eventually answered, "Raymond Collins." Anna noticed how his fingers trembled as he unwrapped the sandwich. Her heart tightened. She wanted to ask about his past, about why he ended up in such a situation, but she understood that those were too personal questions. "My name's Anna," she said. Raymond nodded, taking the first cautious bite. He chewed slowly, as if savoring the moment. Anna couldn't bring herself to leave while he ate. It felt wrong to just turn around and disappear into the crowd. "Do you work at a hospital?" he suddenly asked. Anna nodded. "Yes, I'm a nurse." Raymond smiled quietly, but not mockingly. It was more of a sad acknowledgement. "Amazing. A nurse helped me a long time ago. Very long ago." Anna wanted to ask more, but he had already returned his focus to the sandwich. She thought she saw a tear in his eye, but perhaps it was just a trick of the light. "Do you have a place to stay tonight?" she asked gently. Raymond nodded, but somewhat uncertainly. "Yes, something like that." "Don't worry, miss. I've been helped more than I ever expected." Anna felt a lump in her throat. She couldn't take him with her. She couldn't change his whole life in an instant, but she could at least make this evening a little easier. "If you need anything, come to the hospital," she said. "I work at St. Thomas Clinic, if you ever need help, anything." Raymond looked at her, his eyes full of gratitude, and Anna felt her own eyes begin to sting with tears. "Thank you, Anna," he said quietly. She smiled, hesitated for a moment, then gently squeezed his hand before walking away. When she had walked a few meters, she glanced back. Raymond was still sitting there, but now he didn't look as lost. Anna didn't know that this small act of kindness would set off a chain of events that would soon change her life forever. A few days had passed since Anna gave her last sandwich to Raymond. She couldn't forget the look in his eyes, full of gratitude, and his words seemed to linger with her with every step she took. While her own life continued on its usual course, Raymond's life remained a mystery to her. Anna couldn't shake the thoughts of what he might be hiding, and what story lay behind his dark gaze and humble demeanor. She couldn't stop thinking about how much he resembled those she had seen in the hospital, people who seemed unable to escape from their past. One evening, after another exhausting shift, Anna decided that she needed to learn more about Raymond. On her desk lay the contact information she had written down in her notebook when they parted. Her heart beat faster as she dialed the number. After several rings, the line finally answered. "Hello?" Raymond's voice was unexpectedly hoarse and quiet. "Hi, it's me again, Anna. I was hoping you wouldn't mind talking. I wanted to learn more about you, if that's all right." Raymond paused for a moment, as if contemplating whether he should continue the conversation. Anna understood that her concern was well-founded. She didn't know what this person might be hiding, and she didn't want to intrude on his private life. However, some inner voice told her that there was more to this man than just an old man on the street. "Well, if you're interested," he finally said. "I don't think it will help you understand, but maybe it'll explain why I ended up here." Anna sat down on the edge of the bed, ready to hear something important. "I was in the army. I served when I was 20. My years on the front were hard. I saw and experienced a lot. And even after all these years, the memories still haunt me. I always thought I was someone important, but one mistake and everything came crashing down. My comrades died in that operation, and I couldn't save them. I survived, but they didn't return. I still live with that in my soul." Anna felt her heart tighten. There was pain in his voice that she couldn't ignore. This was the moment when Raymond began to open up about his past, and Anna realized that although her life was full of challenges, it could never compare to what this man had gone through. "It's not your fault, Raymond," she said softly, trying to offer him comfort with her words. "War isn't a place to save everyone. This is probably not the world where you can expect victory. Your comrades would be proud that you survived." Raymond sighed, his voice trembling slightly. "You don't understand, Anna. When you go through something like that, you can't forget. Even if you come home and try to live on, you'll always carry it with you. I tried to find a normal job, but no one would hire me. I became who I am now. I tried to forget, but I suffocated in the shadow of the past." Anna fell silent. She knew that Raymond just wanted to be heard. He wasn't asking for help. He wasn't demanding sympathy. He just wanted someone to listen and understand him. And at that moment, she felt that, in a way, she was in a similar position. She had spent her whole life trying to do everything right. But sometimes she just needed someone to understand her. However, her past was different. Her mistakes weren't as destructive. She couldn't understand what Raymond had gone through, but she could be there for him, ready to help if he wanted. "And what did you do then?" she asked, deciding to continue the conversation. "After everything fell apart." Raymond paused for a moment before continuing. I tried to build something new, tried to get back on my feet. I worked on construction sites. It wasn't a dream job, but it was something. That's when I realized that every day is a battle. I didn't know how to keep going, but I kept going anyway. I worked. I drank coffee in some dives. I looked for salvation in every little moment, but often it slipped away. And now I'm here, just on the sidelines of life. Anna felt her heart fill with sympathy, and at the same time, respect for this man. He wasn't seeking pity. He wasn't asking for help, but he kept living despite all the difficulties. He was on the edge of despair, but kept fighting, even though he often didn't know what for. I understand, she replied quietly. You've been through a long journey, Raymond, and I believe that you'll make it. It doesn't matter how you ended up here. What matters is that you keep fighting. Raymond chuckled briefly. I don't know how to fight, Anna, but I'll try. Those words sounded to Anna like a promise, like a small spark of hope in a dark tunnel. She was sure that she couldn't change Raymond's whole past, but perhaps she could become part of his future. And though he didn't know it, she was ready to help him keep going. A few days had passed since Anna and Raymond continued their conversation. Anna couldn't get Raymond's story out of her head, especially about what he had gone through and how difficult it had been for him to find his place in the world after the war. Her heart ached for him, and she felt that her own life, despite all its challenges, could have been much easier if she could have done something to help Raymond. She didn't expect this day to be a turning point in her life. In the evening, returning home after work, Anna noticed an expensive car in front of her house, a shiny black SUV. She rushed to the door, and her surprise was immeasurable when a person appeared in front of her whom she never expected to see, Keanu Reeves. Anna? He asked with a slight smile, extending his hand. Hi, I'm Keanu. Can I talk to you? This is important. Anna stood there, unable to believe her eyes. The famous actor, Keanu Reeves, was standing at her doorstep. She couldn't understand what was happening. This man wasn't just a star. He was someone she considered a real hero because of his roles in films, where he was always an example of courage and humanity. Keanu Reeves, she asked, barely overcoming her astonishment. But what are you doing here? Keanu noticed her stunned expression and smiled, as if understanding her shock. I know this might sound strange, he replied, but I heard about you and Raymond, about how you helped him, gave him your last sandwich, and that story really moved me. I heard he's a veteran, and I got curious about what happened to him. We've known each other for a long time, and I couldn't leave you unnoticed. This is a very important moment for him, and it seems like it's important for you too. Anna was perplexed. She didn't know how to react. She couldn't imagine that her kind act would attract the attention of such a person, but everything that was happening seemed so unreal that she decided to just relax and listen to him. You know Raymond? She asked, still in confusion. But how? Keanu nodded slightly, understanding her questions. Yes, Raymond and I have known each other since I filmed a movie about veterans. He was one of the people who helped me prepare for the role, shared his memories. His story shook me, and at some point, I realized I needed to do something for him. I've been following his life as best as I could, and when I heard about your act, I decided to come. Anna still couldn't believe what was happening, but she felt that with every word Keanu spoke, the situation was becoming clearer. Raymond was someone with whom Keanu had done many important things, and maybe they both needed each other more than she could have imagined. I don't know what to say, she confessed, still in a slight shock. I just gave him food. I didn't even think it could have an impact on anything big. Keanu smiled. You have no idea how important your gesture became. Sometimes, the smallest acts turn out to be the most significant, he said. But I'm not here just to talk about Raymond. I need to help you understand that you can do much more than you think. I want to offer you help, Anna. You deserve it. Anna looked at him, not understanding what he meant. Help? She asked, still uncertain of her words. Keanu extended his hand, and Anna felt her doubts begin to fade. There was something in his eyes that spoke of sincerity. He wasn't just an actor here for publicity. He was a person who genuinely cared. I want to offer you something more than just words, he said softly. You're a nurse, right? You help people every day, despite fatigue and pain. I know that you're suffering, and you need to restore your strength. Well, I can help you with that. You don't have to deal with it alone. I want you to come with us to a place where you can rest and recharge. This is my way of thanking you for what you did. I think you deserve more than just a constant struggle. Anna stood there, stunned by his words. She couldn't believe that such things were happening to her. Keanu Reeves, the man she had heard so much about and seen on screen, was offering her help in such a personal and important way. But why me? I just did what was right, she said, still not understanding the full depth of the situation. Keanu looked at her with a warm smile. Because you, Anna, he said sincerely, didn't just think about it. You did it with an open heart. And believe me, people like you deserve for the world to open up to them too. At that moment, Anna realized that she wasn't just a nurse going through hard times. She was part of something bigger, and her life could change not only because of her own efforts, but also thanks to the encounters with those who helped her see that kind acts could be rewarded. Anna sat in the cozy room of her home, looking at Keanu Reeves, who had just offered her the chance to change her life, and couldn't believe what was happening. His offer was so unexpected that she still couldn't grasp its full significance. However, she decided that at least she should listen to him until the end. Keanu, I don't understand why you decided to help me, she admitted, slightly confused. I just gave a sandwich to someone in need. Why is this so important? Keanu looked at her, smiling with understanding, as if he already knew her questions would be like this. He confidently took a cup of coffee and placed it on the table in front of him, as if preparing to share an important truth. You really don't understand, he asked. I can't know every person who needs help, but your act was unusual. You didn't think about the consequences. You simply gave that person what he needed. You did something that, I think, many would have ignored. Anna looked at him, feeling her doubts starting to dissipate. But her curiosity was too great, and she decided to ask the question that had been bothering her all this time. But how did you know about Raymond? She asked. I never told you about him. Why do you, Keanu Reeves, know about him? At that moment, Keanu fell silent, and his gaze became serious, as though he was about to reveal something important, something that could change everything. He moved closer to the table and quietly said, You need to understand one thing, Anna. Raymond is not just a veteran you learned about by chance. He was an important person in my life. I worked with him in the past, and his story impacted me so deeply that I couldn't stay away. I knew he was suffering badly, and he needed someone who would understand him. And when I found out you spoke with him, I realized you're the one who could help him. Anna was shocked by Keanu's words. She couldn't imagine that this elderly man, with whom she had simply shared a sandwich, was part of the life of the famous actor. She felt even smaller and more insignificant, but at the same time, she realized that her action was so important that even a celebrity like Keanu had noticed it. "I didn't know he knew you," she said, looking at him in disbelief. "This seems so unreal." Keanu smiled. "I understand why it's hard for you to believe. It's pretty unusual. But you need to understand. Raymond, many years ago, was one of my mentors. He worked with veterans and helped us, actors, understand how to deal with the trauma of war. He himself went through a lot, and I was always grateful to him for opening my eyes to many things. But I know that after all these years, he became lonely, and now, when he needs help, no one notices him. So, your gesture helped me see him again, and he became even more important to me." Anna sat silently, absorbed by his words. She tried to process the fact that her small but significant act had helped not only Raymond, but also Keanu Reeves. The situation was so layered that it was hard for her to believe what was happening. She felt as though she was standing on the edge of two worlds, her ordinary life as a nurse and the life of people she had considered untouchable. At one point, she even began to question whether she should have intervened in this situation at all. "You say Raymond was your mentor, but then why did he end up in such a situation? Why can't he find help? Why did he end up on the streets?" Keanu sighed and seemed to ponder for a moment. He turned to the window, as if trying to find the right words. His gaze deepened, and a shadow of sadness passed through his eyes. "It's a long story," he said. "Raymond wasn't always like this. He went through a lot, and the war left its mark on him. But the hardest part wasn't what he experienced on the battlefield. The hardest part was that after the war, society turned its back on him. Many veterans suffer because they can't find support. They've become invisible to most people. It breaks my heart, because I know how many people like Raymond disappear, leaving no trace in the lives of others." Anna was silent again, her mind overwhelmed. She felt how everything around her was changing in her perception. She began to understand how important her act was and how much it meant for Raymond and Keanu during those moments when she extended a helping hand. Anna began to think about what more she could do to change the life of the veteran, to bring him back into this world. "I'm so sorry," she said quietly, "that he ended up in such a situation." Keanu turned to her and smiled, but it wasn't an ordinary smile. It was a smile of gratitude and understanding. "Don't worry, Anna. He's not alone. We can all make the world a better place, just by starting with small things, and you've already done more than many others." This was the beginning of a new path for Anna. She understood that her life, as well as Raymond's, was just beginning from the moment she made her small but so important choice. Anna woke up in the morning as she always did, thinking about her long and tiring workday ahead. But today, there was something unusual in the air that made her feel like this was no ordinary day. She couldn't quite put her finger on it. Maybe it was the sense of change filling her from within, or perhaps the anticipation of something important about to happen. After breakfast, she got ready for work. But all the while, her mind kept drifting to Keanu Reeves and how his visit had changed her life. She realized that her life had become much more multifaceted than ever before. The feeling of gratitude for her act towards Raymond hadn't faded, yet deep inside, she felt that she hadn't done enough to truly justify the help she had given. When she arrived at the hospital, a colleague approached her. "Anna, they're asking for you at the reception. There's an important meeting." Anna raised an eyebrow in surprise. She hadn't quite gotten used to the attention she had started receiving after her encounter with Raymond became known, and to the fact that people were now talking about her actions. Upon entering the reception, she was greeted by a surprising sight. Standing at the door was none other than Keanu Reeves. He was here, in her hospital, in her world, a world she still hadn't fully stepped into. He looked as calm and confident as always, but there was something different in his eyes. Gratitude, or perhaps something even deeper. "Keanu," she said, hardly believing her eyes. "What are you doing here?" He looked at her with a slight smile. "I'm not here on business, Anna. I'm here to give you something important. The act you performed has been a significant reminder for me that a simple, kind act can change a life. I want you to receive what you deserve." In his hands was a small box wrapped in velvet fabric. Anna exhaled, unable to hold back the wave of emotions that washed over her. What could this be? "This is for you," he said, handing her the box. "Don't think that I'm trying to repay your kindness. I just want you to know you are important, and your actions matter." With a racing heart, Anna took the box. She touched its surface before carefully opening it. Inside was an exquisite brooch with a golden pattern, at the center of which sparkled a rare stone, a sapphire. Anna could hardly believe that she was holding it in her hands. "Keanu, this is incredible, but I can't accept such a gift. I didn't do it to receive something in return. I just helped someone in need." Keanu stepped closer, his gaze softening with understanding. "I know, Anna, but sometimes the simplest and most selfless acts turn out to be the most valuable. This gift is not to repay your kindness. It's a reminder of what you did. And perhaps this gift will help you realize how much you are worth." Anna looked at the brooch in her hands, feeling tears welling up in her eyes. She was deeply touched by this gesture. She knew her help to Raymond had been important. But now, with Keanu Reeves' support, she understood just how powerful and meaningful this event had been in her life. "This is too much," she said, slightly confused. "I can't take it." But Keanu simply smiled, and his gaze was full of warmth. "You've already received your reward, Anna. You've given someone hope, and that's far more valuable. The brooch is just a symbol, a small tribute to your incredible kindness." Anna didn't know how to respond. She realized that Keanu was right. She had already received her reward, and it was far more precious than any material object. But this brooch symbolized something greater: the recognition of her actions, the attention to her life, and what she had done. "Thank you, Keanu," she said, feeling the words come from her with true gratitude. "This will not just be a gift to me, but a symbol of the fact that I made the right choice. And I will remember this always." When Keanu left, Anna stood in the reception, holding the precious gift, and felt how her life was changing. She understood that with each passing day, she was discovering more and more the importance of simple acts that could change the world. This gift was not just a luxury item. It was a reminder that her kindness and openness to the world would bring her true reward.